dun, dun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grand Trine. The moon in Leo, trine Jupiter in Sagittarius, trine the sun in Aries. Cut it out. Of course we triumph. This is a day of great triumph. We're launching our website today. The new Paradigm Astrology website has been like totally redone, and it is fantastic. It's on the Teachable platform and forums and classes and courses, and it's so much faster. It's so much easier. You've got to check it out. Oh! We are having a blue moon sale. Did you know that we have a blue moon coming up? Yeah, this week. Yeah, that is the second full moon in Libra. 29 degrees, critical degree, coming on up on the 18th, 19th. Look out. Sun at critical degree of Aries. Ah! It's actually, I think, on the 19th in a lot of places. But anyway, so we're having a sale, half off of almost everything in the store on the new Paradigm Astrology website. So we're at the end of this webinar, we're going to give you the promo code, okay, where you can go in and get Kundalini yoga videos, astrology videos, all kinds of stuff that will help, you know, just like make sense out of what? Out of the Saturn South Node Pluto conjunction, the three heavyweights, you know, coming in. And I just, you know, just a little bit about that. I actually did an 1.5-hour webinar on this yesterday, where I took it all through the houses. And maybe I will post that just for, yeah, snits, okay, to put that out there, because it's so big, it's so deep, it's so much. I'm not going to be able to cover all of it today, but I just want to really look at, number one, all three of these. Saturn has to do with the past, Pluto has to do with the past, South Node of the moon has to do with the past. And to me, the moon's nodes where these eclipses happen are portals. Portal from the past, portal from the future. We're caught in between in a place of tension. And when we've got Saturn and Pluto, planets conjunct that South Node, it's like it opens the gates of the past. And it's like everything from our past lives, all of our karma. And this, I mean by good karma and bad karma. You know, karma's just karma. Karma's just consequences. So if your past lifetimes, you know, you did great and you were wonderful, this can actually be a wonderful time for you, where so many things come together and so much authority and so much integrity and so, I mean, things like really solidify for you. On the other hand, everywhere that you've blown it, where you have not done your duty, not done your responsibility, you've stepped out of integrity, it is going to come right now, this particular time, from March of 2019 to September, October of 2019, this particular 6-month window, okay, where these three are just cruising along together. Okay, this is like super intense time, okay, where all the cats come out of the bag. Pandora's box is wide open. And what Jeffrey Green always says about the South Node, okay, planets conjunct the South Node, it's either, okay, a fruition of all the good stuff that is manifesting now in a great way, or you got to redo it, revisit it, remember it, get it together, okay, or a little bit of both. So what we're all getting now, I believe, okay, the majority of us are getting benefits from the good work that we've done in the past, and we're getting reminded that we have more work to do. And, you know, this is coming at us in a very intense, deep, emotional, physical way. And particularly depending on what planets it's aspecting in your chart, what houses it's in your chart, will get far more specific and individual for you. But in general, I will say a few things. Pluto is associated, okay, with obsessive compulsive desires, needs, okay, where we are attached to winning, to power, to being on top, to relationships and absorbing and osmosing more and more from others and from the outside world. And we want more. So this can be a time where we are attached, and these attachments, if they're good for our soul evolution, they're going to hang out. If they're a distraction or they're pulling us off our soul path, they're going to go away. And this going away, okay, can create feelings of loss, betrayal, abandonment, neglect. With every loss, there is also grief. It's natural. This is a very natural time. Saturn is also associated with grief. Saturn is very serious and sober. Reflection, associated also with depression. And that suppression can also lead us into, feelings of being blocked, of being limited. Very often Pluto is a big bad wolf at the door, okay, that's just like bigger than us, overpowered, more powerful than us, and we feel like, what is it, the Three Little Pigs? With the big bad wolf at the door? That's the pigs. We could feel like one of the Three Little Pigs with the big bad wolf at the door right now. So what we can all be dealing with is conditions and situations of being oppressed or suppressed by external authorities, forces beyond our control, this creating or our own belief systems, limiting core beliefs, suppressing our emotional needs and desires. So this can all have to do with what? Suppression leads to anger and rage. So very many of us in the world are dealing with anger, rage, suppression, limitation, loss, betrayal, abandonment. I mean, these are the big, deepest human, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical experiences that we can deal with. And it's all about the end of dealing with it in a patriarchal fashion. This is time to erase the chalkboard. Okay, time to write a new equation, time to bring in a new paradigm. We're saying goodbye to the old ways of looking at ourselves in the world, of old ways of solving problems, of old judgments, of old beliefs, of old. And it's time to what? Pluto polarity point is in Cancer. The north node of the moon is in Cancer. What you want to do is find where this conjunction is in your chart and go to the opposite house and sign. And you nurture yourself and you take care of yourself and you stop blaming and finger pointing and getting lost in, all the crap on the headlines and the, institutional problems and stuff out there that's going on. Look at your own karma, your own dharma, your own emotional child, your own past, your own family. It's just like, come in and be your own mother and your own father and feel your feelings and open your heart. Cancer is like the rib cage. Yeah, it's, it's this protective shell that, protects the heart. So this can be a time where you get angry and you want to close off and shut down and, fight back or just run away and hide or whatever. And I just want to say that this, all this Cancer energy is, just like the path of evolution is to stay vulnerable, soft, sensitive, feeling, and emotional, and tap into it and just be a human being. That's, So what I want to do today is, besides announcing launching the new website And talking a little bit about these transits, I want to give each one of the Dream Team members a chance to give a little more, okay, about what's going on now. But also, like if that's not enough, we are starting module 3 of the complete course for you to become your own astrologer. By golly, and it is on aspects, planetary relationships, patterns and pairs and everything. So let me pass the baton. Yeah, first let's, hand it over to Ari. He's gonna, give us a little bit about what he's gonna be teaching in our module 3 coming up. Here you go, Ari.
Hey everyone. So I'll start off with that. In this upcoming module 3, I'll actually be introducing the very idea of aspects. So I want to speak a little bit about this. When we talk about aspects on the most basic level, we're speaking about the geometric relationship between any 2 points in the chart. This geometric relationship is the resonance between these different planetary functions. And I want everyone to check out these images I'm about to share with you. If you look at this plant, you'll notice that there's a natural cycle here. We have the seed, it sprouts, it comes into a plant, and the plant bears fruit. And then in the fruit, we have the beginning of another. Same thing with this oak tree. Seed, sprout, tree. Everything in creation manifests in cycles. Our very human biology. We're born, we grow, we reach some kind of maturation, and then we move out. We look at anything in our lives, be it our physiology, nature, our social experiences, the beginning of a new relationship. Everything that's a thing, in virtue of being a thing, has a beginning, and thus has a maturation process. When we speak about aspects, the relationship between planets in the chart with one another, we're actually looking at a process of becoming. Every 2 planets in the chart at some point were together in the sky. And at some point when these 2 planets are together, they begin to separate. A good example is the new moon. What happens on the new moon? The sun and the moon are in the same place. And they travel, and about 14 days later, we have the full moon. What's that? They're opposite each other now. So when we study aspects, we're really looking at the nature of cycles, the nature of all things being a part of a great process. In our own natal charts, when we are born, our own chart says, here are all the various cycles that are manifesting in this life. It's like some lifetimes are very new cycle, right? Birthing, starting, initiating. And you know those kinds of personalities. Or where there's a dharma, there's a calling to be initiating. Whereas some lifetimes have a lot of planets that are culminating a cycle, right? It's like the fruit's already flowered. Now the seeds are coming out, getting ready to plant a new cycle. And those lifetimes might be a lot about letting go, surrendering, letting the cycle complete itself, which is less active than those who are in a new cycle. So when we look at the entire chart, we can actually get a sense for what are the various cycles that is in the soul's intention and purpose to play out in this lifetime. Likewise, we can look at the current planets in the sky, and we can see, okay, what are the various cycles? What an astrologer does when they tell you about the various planets in the sky in the moment, they're tracking the cycles, the phases. So in this chart right here, we have Jupiter and Neptune. So I'm going to give this as an example. This is the current cycle. This is today. I'm going to speak a little bit about the current times and highlight this Jupiter and Neptune relationship. Right now, Jupiter and Neptune are squaring each other. And this cycle is going on for a good year. Because of retrograde, where planets move backwards, they're kind of going in and out of a square. They're going to square each other exactly, pretty much on June 21st, solstice, and then again at the equinox in September. When we have this geometric relationship between Jupiter and Neptune, it's a particular phase. And I want everyone to understand that. When I say there's an aspect between any 2 points in the sky, in the chart, first and foremost, what it means is there's a relationship. And we look at the kind of aspect to help us understand what kind of relationship. Like, did they just meet each other? Are they going on a first date? Are they starting a family? Are they dissolving into a new phase? Right? So to know that there's a relationship is to say, okay, there's something unfolding here. And then with the study of aspects, we can really understand what's the intention now, what phase in their relationship is playing out. So when we look at anything Neptune, Neptune's in Pisces, Neptune says that we cannot control the ocean. And there's reality, there's truth. And our personal local ego consciousness is, for the most part, not aware of the full picture. We can't possess or grasp or own or claim a complete understanding of what's actually going on here. So with Neptune, we learn to surrender. We learn faith. We learn unconditional love. This faith, this unconditional faith and love, says, I trust my creator, I trust source. And that to find meaning in life means surrendering to the ocean, which is aware of all of its parts. It's aware of all of the pieces. And when there's a strong Neptune thing going on, we can get confused. Because confusion represents the struggle between our personal understanding, where we've put meaning into life, where we've said, okay, here's where things are. This is what I'm expecting from reality. And then reality is like, well, this is what I actually am. So the archetype of confusion, as well as disillusionment, is where we learn to recalibrate and understand that we're in relationship to reality. We can't make it up in our minds, but we can co-create with it. We can seek to understand it. When we put Jupiter in the mix, Jupiter corresponds specifically to our understanding of reality, our interpretation of it. Whereas with Neptune, it's where we give meaning to reality. It's where we surrender and trust everything's okay unconditionally. And then Jupiter, we give it a philosophy. We come to an understanding of, okay, what's this all about? What are the principles of nature? We have a sense of, I'm learning more. With Jupiter, we always feel like we're learning more. We're on an ongoing journey of expanding our consciousness to add more context to the existing understanding that we have. So this particular square is what we call a last quarter square. It's very similar to the last quarter moon, and I'll show you the image again. When you have a lunar phase, it just after the full moon, we have the last quarter phase before the moon returns to a new moon. So this is a square, and it's a last quarter square. And for those that want to learn more deeply about that, you'll understand how to identify last quarter square versus first quarter square. But what this square represents is we are now in a phase where we are adjusting our mindset to accommodate and expand and apprehend more of reality. And the crisis here can be in our personal interpretation, understanding of reality. I think I'm going this way. This is my vision. These are the dreams I've had. This is my sense of direction. But to use our intuition, to stay in prayer and awareness of what's actually wanting to happen through us, what's actually calling us. So this transit, especially in June, and especially when we start to integrate the lessons that will come even more deeply this fall. But we're really just starting in this journey. Jupiter went retrograde. So it's a time to really deepen our intuition, our understanding. The key here is to let go of our beliefs, let go of what we've been trying to convince ourselves of, and recognize if we just trust the ocean, Jupiter teach us what we need to know. We'll learn, we'll grow, we'll understand more information. And the blessing with this transit, what fruit can come from this particular phase is the ability to have a direct experience of the truth, not because we figured out the answer and we've arrived in some kind of grand philosophy that solves all the answers, but because we've relinquished the struggle. We've relinquished the need to be able to always know and say, this is what's happening and I'm secure because I know. But to follow our heart, follow our intuition, trust where we are in the moment. And with this kind of transit, Jupiter and Neptune together in this square, it's dissolving all kinds of ideas we've had. And so where we're called to go might be very surprising and shocking to us. Our personal life direction might not be exactly how we thought it would be. We might be shown, okay, here you are at A and here's Z, but how you get from A to Z might be something you don't even expect. And thus Z may not be something you imagined it to be. There are all kinds of fonts. So to have an open mind, an open heart, and to remember that with this transit, our sincerity, our honesty, our willingness to not know, but to discover in this present moment is one of the greatest things. And we can find a lot of compassion and peace along this journey. All right. So I'm going to pass the baton on now to, I believe, Christina, right? Okay.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful, Ari Moshe. I just feel like, you know, I've been to the Ari Moshe temple of healing. So thank you so much for that. So beautiful. And I want to welcome everyone for joining us today for the Dream Team. We always want to provide you so much great insight on the astrology. And, you know, something that came to me recently was I'd heard that, you know, we're in the age of information, and in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And I believe that. I believe that we can actually access whatever information that we need. But, you know, even more than that, we are in the age of edutainment. And how many of you have taken courses where it's sounded great, like you could solve all your past life karma in 6 easy steps, and never really gotten much out of it? I don't know. I've taken those courses before. And, you know, at New Paradigm, you've already just heard Kaypacha and Ari Moshe speak. I mean, we are really dedicated to bringing quality. And so even just today, if you get something out of what we have to share, that really is our purpose, that we are here to serve. And those of you, I see there's some of our students in the course. You can't wait for module 3 to come out on the aspects. I mean, this isn't easy stuff. This is going to get more and more intricate. But when we can take it from a place of passion and curiosity, that can really make the education process, the journey, really exciting. And as Ari Moshe had said, you know, it's not about giving one answer to your life, so everything. So now, you know, you can rest in the security of knowing. Actually, some of the greatest awareness is really in just asking the bigger questions, continuing to ask and get more and more curious about what kind of universe do we live in, that, you know, our personality and our destiny is encoded in this map. And even though, you know, it takes our creative agency to bring our destiny to life, the language of astrology can really help us to find some guideposts, to find our North Star in a sense. And with aspects, we can start to see how these planets sort of play together. And that gives us the quality, that gives us the qualities of time that we want to understand. And so today I want to share a little bit with you about something that sounds very simple, but it's actually a great building block for the rest of the idea of aspects. It's the phases, and we'll start with the lunar phases. Right? Everybody here probably knows about a new moon and a full moon. And every month we have a new moon and a full moon. And so what makes the moon new or full isn't just about the moon, you know, getting bright or dimming. It is its relationship to the sun, right? So a new moon is the moon conjunct the sun. and the full moon is the moon opposite the sun. Now, we are about to have a blue moon in, as Kaypacha said, it's going to be the morning, depending on where you live here in America, it's the morning of April 19th this week. And what makes it special, and I want to point this out because a lot of times we'll see these blue moons that, you know, it's rare, it's once in a blue moon. And actually the word blue comes from this ancient, comes from an Old English word that means betrayer, right? Because it's betraying, you know, the natural rhythm, but it is a once in a blue moon phenomena. Now the moon's not going to turn blue, but it is going to give us a second opportunity to engage in our Libra nature or the Libra lessons that are there for us. You know, so look at your chart and see where 0 degrees and 29 degrees Libra fall. I mean, who doesn't love a Libra? I mean, Libras are here to bring Venus, to bring balance and harmony. But we also are all challenged in our soul understanding its individual nature by comparing and contrasting with another. And oftentimes that is what Libra is here to help us see, to help us evolve into more of who we are in relationship. And so on the equinox that we just recently had, March 20th, right, that was our first full moon in Libra. So it was that full moon on the equinox, and that already was sort of a rare event. And that was at 0 degrees Libra. And so 0 degrees Libra, you know, that's the baby Libra, that is the Libra that wants harmony and the nurturance and the balance. And so we're just sort of dipping our toe into Libra. And then we are having, as I said, a second full moon in the sign of Libra. Now, I want to point out that a true blue moon is 2 consecutive full moons in the same sign, the same zodiac sign. Now, sometimes we'll have 2 full moons in the same calendar month, which people get all like excited about. And you know, hey, any full moon is a time of awareness and it's worth our attention. But you want to just, you know, differentiate that astrologically, we are looking at what's significant is the zodiac, because the zodiac, again, gives us that quality of what the moon is expressing. And so we have the second full moon, and it's going to be at 29 Libra. So that critical degree, the anaretic degree, we call it, of Libra. And usually there's some kind of urgency. You know, when we get to the end of the sign, we're starting to mature in the expression of that sign. But that very last degree, there's an urgency, there's a lesson, there's something that needs to be taken care of in order to move on to the next sign. A lot of times they say that that last degree is, you know, the planet wants to be done with this sign, wants to be on to the next thing, thinks they've mastered everything, but there's usually some kind of a sense of urgency. So we want to be paying attention in our life to how that might be manifesting. And so again, as Kaypacha mentioned, we're having a once in a blue moon sale. We want to really celebrate this. You know, blue moons happen every 2 to 3 years. We want to celebrate this together with our community. And now, as far as the phases, right, a full moon is a phase. We've got, we mainly look at 8 phases in the lunar cycle, going from the beginning of the new moon to the culmination of the full moon, and then back to the new moon again to start a new cycle, which we have every month. And, you know, it's said that the lunar phase we were born under, that actually shows in our life a sense of the soul's expression. Now, in evolutionary astrology, the moon is considered the vehicle for the soul. Right? So even if you can think about your vehicle, right? This is the vehicle, your ego nature, your emotional nature, how you have emotional responses for your soul to express itself in the world. And so in, say for instance, you were born under a new moon, right? That's the dark moon. That is where we're grasping at life. That's where we want to experiment. That's where we can be spontaneous, right? It's a very new phase. It's a new evolutionary phase. And so whether it means you're a new soul or the soul is beginning a new cycle, there's a newness there, a freshness there. And so, if you were born under a new moon, that takes a certain faith, that takes leaps of faith in the life. And because there's no light at the new moon, it's also like maybe you can't fully see, but you know that there's potential. It's like living a life in full potential. And actually, let me share my screen really quickly, and I want to show you some slides that might help to illuminate what I'm speaking about. Let's see. Can you guys see this? Can you see okay, good. So just basic with the phases, we start with the new moon, sun moon conjunction, we wax to a full moon, and then we go back waning down to the dark moon. So most people know about this, very basic, but this really sort of helps us to see the relationship with the sun and the moon. When at the new moon, the moon is dark, and that's because, the light of the sun is not reflected on the moon, it's blocked. And here at the full moon, the light of the sun, I don't have the sun in this image, but the sun is being reflected, the light of the sun is reflected on the moon. And so, let me see. Here's the 8 lunar phases. It's really fascinating. If you haven't already looked at what phase you were born under, where is the sun and moon in relation to each other when you were born? I mean, it's pretty easy to see the new moon and the full moon, obviously a conjunction or opposition. But if we split it up into 8 phases, these each have their own quality, right? And just as Ari Moshe was saying, it's kind of like, is this a first date? That would be like in like maybe the waxing phase. Or is this, a couple that's been together a long time growing old together? That's like the waning phase. And here's just the degrees. And let me just skip to, for instance, if you were born under a new moon, right? The key word for that is instinctual. There's an instinctual urge to become. It's about relating to the world impulsively. And this is from, this sort of emotional standpoint, your soul standpoint. It's a new evolutionary cycle. And there is this imprint with the life that you always will be needing pure potential in your life. Maybe that it helps to align you with a sense of rightness when you feel there's potential in your life. I'm going to skip a little bit. We're waxing to the full moon. Those born under a full moon are here to really make an impact. They are like carrying the imprint of a full moon in their world. And so the key words here are about meaning and about completion. This is when the self and other really is important to understanding one's role in the social world. It's when we're manifesting. It's a life where manifestation is really urgent, right? So a full moon person is most likely going to be really wanting to make an impact, really needing to be seen on a certain level. And from an evolutionary standpoint, it's a phase of your soul needing a sense of fulfillment, right? This illumination of light. So regardless of, we're always usually just looking at our sun sign, look at the moon phase, because that really tells you the sense of where your soul how your soul wants to be expressing itself in the world. And actually not just, your emotional state, but just the life itself, life experiences. Are they more full of potential, or do they need to actually come to fruition in your life for you to feel like your soul is getting satisfaction? Well, it looks like my time is up because my my little dinger went off. I hope that that helps you to see a little bit about the significance of the lunar phases. Again, not just for, you know, what's happening this month or what's happening in the sky, but what lunar phase were you born under? And just understand that that has an impact on how the life unfolds and also how the soul wants to move in the world. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And let me see, who am I moving to? Timothy.
Well, I got it. No,
okay.
Actually, thank you, Christina. Beautiful. Yeah, this is, you know, the first module was, you know, all about the elements and the modalities making up the 12 signs. The second module was about the houses and the planets. But now this third module, when we get into the phases and the planetary relationships, we start really getting deeper material out of the chart. So, you know, that was really fantastic. Thank you. Unfortunately, Maurice Fernandez is in Japan right now teaching and is unable to join us on this webinar. However, lucky for us, he sent a little video clip. It's from his phone, so I don't know how, you know, how well it's going to work. But I'm going to share my screen with a little video from Maurice, who's going to be telling us about what he's going to be bringing forth in Module 3. So let me, oh, you know what? I think there's a little thing where you have to share the computer sound. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Try this. Ready?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this gathering ahead of the complete course, Module 3 on aspect, coming up in May. I'm sorry I cannot be with you live. I'm in a very remote place in the world, currently in Japan, on an island called Chiba. If you want to look it up, you'll see what I mean by remote. And it's a beautiful, serene environment. So I'm glad to speak from here, and I look forward to this module. I will be specifically speaking about the waxing aspects, which include the conjunction, the semi-sextile, semi-square, sextile, square, trine, sesquiquadrate, quincunx, and opposition aspects. And what we really want to focus on is not just understanding what each aspect means in the natal chart, but to see the whole cycle. So what I'm going to do is use two planets and see their progression as they begin their journey, their cycle in the conjunction, and then start separating from each other as the faster moving planet starts to move forward. It's very similar, obviously, to the phases of the moon, and we are very familiar with the waxing phase, the full moon, the waning phase, but the truth is this applies to any pair of planets. So we're going to look at this big picture, because many astrologers, when they look at a chart and see an aspect, they tend to isolate the interpretation and think of, you know, oh, Venus squares Mars in your chart and this means this and that. But in reality, it's just a phase of a larger cycle between Mars and Venus. So if we understand it that way, we can gain a more holistic perspective on what's really going on in our charts. So I will be speaking around May the 19, if I'm not mistaken. And I look forward to an exciting program. I know many of you have been very excited and inspired by the first two modules, so we look forward to carrying that into that next installment. Thank you very much, and join us, because aspects are one of the most complex and yet important component of analysis. When we start with the definition of planets, houses, signs, and then through aspects, we connect the whole chart. So it's really about learning synthesis. And that's what makes you a very good astrologer, is when you master the art of synthesis. So, arigato from Japan. Until May. See you soon.
All right. Well, thank you very much, disembodied voice of Maurice coming from Japan. And I agree very much with Maurice about the significance of aspects. And I gotta say, I wanna begin by opening with sharing my excitement in preparing for this course. For those of you who are familiar with my work or my YouTube videos, you may know that I don't do too much advertising or self-promotion, but I really do want to express the value of this material for those who are learning astrology or already doing chart interpretation. This material is really the meat of chart interpretation, or in case you're a vegetarian, I suppose we'll say it's the main course. And there really are too many so-called or self-defined astrologers who don't really have a good grip on aspects. And so, as Maurice was saying, aspects are all part of a greater cycle. And those aspects correlate with the different phases that Christina introduced. Those aspects can even correlate to the zodiac signs. And so the wheel, the cycle itself, can be broken apart into these different rhythms, much the same way as when we have a fundamental beat. That beat can be divided either into quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or thirds, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and each rhythm, each way of dividing the circle apart is going to have different meaning and different significance. And so the 5 commonly used aspects are most renowned. We have the conjunction, opposition, squares, trines, the sextile, and the quincunx. But in this course, we're going to be introducing 3 other aspects, including the sesquiquadrate, the semi-square, and the semi-sextile. And we'll be looking at how important these aspects are as well. But not only that, there's actually more than just one type of conjunction. As Arimosha explained, there is when a planet is approaching a conjunction. When that conjunction is applying, it's a balsamic phase conjunction, which is a totally different creature from a new phase or a separating conjunction. There's 2 different types of oppositions, 2 different types of quincunx, 2 different types of sesquiquadrates, and actually 4 different types of squares, and each have very specific evolutionary functions and meanings. And we're going to get into all of those details, so that way you will be able to synthesize the different aspects together and be able to begin to form very accurate astrology readings and interpretation. Now, I'm going to give a quick example of some of these aspects as they've been playing out. In one of the recent cycles, I suppose we can say, with the recent Mercury retrograde. So there's been a lot going on the last month and a half. I don't know if you can even remember back to the beginning of March when Mercury first stationed retrograde at the final degree of Pisces, 29 degrees Pisces on March 5th. Now Chiron's at the very beginning of Aries, and so Mercury came up to Chiron but stationed retrograde just before that conjunction, which has a very specific meaning that that Mercury Chiron cycle was about to begin into a new cycle, but there was some things to reflect upon. There was more that needed to be completed, and that has been a huge part of this recent Mercury retrograde phase. Okay, so generally the Mercury Chiron cycle, what Mercury and Chiron in a relationship together can be about, is Mercury is our own rational understanding and capacity to communicate, and Chiron is our healing journey. And so this cycle has to do with the capacity to rationally understand and communicate our own healing journey, our own gifts as healing, as well as our own sense of woundedness, as well as the capacity to understand all the parts of the human journey and experience, including the very deep, the very complex, or the very subtle inner experience of life. And so just how Kaypacha was talking about with the nodes and this important Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the Chiron-Mercury cycle also has to do with our capability to be vulnerable, to express our healing journey and share what's going on inside of us. Well, there's so much going on this month, and a part of this Mercury retrograde beginning before that conjunction at the final degree of Pisces is saying there's a lot that we need to process and understand about our own healing journey. We may be coming into a new level of rational comprehension of what this journey is exactly about. And as that Mercury is now returning to the degree where he originally stationed retrograde, these next few days, on the 16th, Mercury returns to 29 degrees Pisces. On the 17th, moves into Aries, and then on the 19th, forms this conjunction with Chiron, forming a new cycle with Chiron. And so these next few days, this next week, there's even an opportunity for us to reflect on this whole last month and a half, beginning at the start of March. You know, what types of experiences have we had? And as Ari Moshe was saying, this is also connected to our own journey of understanding our connection to the bigger picture. Because, of course, Mercury stationed on Chiron and then retrograded back and stationed on Neptune in a balsamic conjunction, also indicating, yes, but there's more to understand about Neptune. And with Neptune and Pisces, we are dealing with the whole collective and so many layers. And we're dealing with themes of what we're in control of and what we're not in control of. And we're seeing all of these dimensions that we may not have been so aware of. All of these hidden subtle realms that also affects us, our life, and our journey of healing. And so Mercury says, I'm not done with this Chiron cycle, but I'm not finished with the Neptune cycle either. And Neptune's been asking us, what are you connected to? How deep does it go? What is your dreams, your visions, your goals? And there is one thing that we all share in common, of which we are all connected to, and that is the collective consciousness. And we're all really dealing with these collective themes between this Mercury retrograde, Saturn, Pluto on the moon south node. I mean, my goodness, like Kaypacha said, a very karmic time that can go what? Into many past lifetimes. And can we choose at this point what all of our past lives were, or what choices we made, you know, so many thousands of years ago? No, it's this time of understanding this vaster construct, this bigger picture, which we are connected to. And there are issues of control we've been dealing with because we are connected to more than what we can immediately recognize or rationally understand. And what that is, what that deeper story or that deeper complexity or that multi-layered reality or nature is, can be coming more into our rational comprehension, particularly this next week as Mercury moves out of his shadow phase and then forms that conjunction with Chiron, which, as we've been saying, is a new cycle. And the new cycle between Mercury and Chiron can bring us some healing tools or connect us with the right people or the right friends that are reflecting back the right ideas or words in order to get a new level of understanding or in order to have healing conversation. Chiron's transiting Aries. We are now healing what we can do as individuals that may contribute back to the collective healing. And maybe it may be as simple as finding a counselor, you know, Chiron conjunct Mercury, someone to talk to, a third party to bounce ideas back that may help us to form new orientations or new perspectives. As Ari Moshe said, we're confronting that which we can't control. We're not able to see the whole picture. And so there is this learning of faith, of trust, and surrender. But Chiron also can bring us help, healers, and healing into our own life that can help us with the shaping, with the forming of these new perspectives and orientations that we're likely bringing to many dimensions of our life, our family, our relationships, our home. This Chiron Mercury in a new cycle will be bringing new healing ideas and understanding. These are seeds that are being sown in a new phase conjunction to now be shared with others, integrated in our own life throughout this next coming year. And we're going to have a Chiron Mercury new cycle beginning roughly every March and April throughout these coming years as well. So this is just one of those cycles, one of those patterns that is coinciding with all of these other cycles and patterns. And when we look at the whole picture together, we really get a sense of just what is going on all of these levels, on all of these dimensions, because this is a powerful time of change, and it can be an immensely productive and an immensely healing period. And so thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here and be a part of this sharing and this healing conversation myself. And so I'm going to pass the baton over now to Sol, who's going to be talking more about the relationship between planets.
Thank you, Tim. That was nice. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see you. We have full house here today. And I am excited to share with you all right, I'll try again. Hello, everybody.
Your sound keeps going in and out.
There is something with the computer here. I'm sorry. I'll unplug the mic, but I think it's stabilized now. We're still in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, and it seems like my computer is doing funkish stuff.
Perhaps try unplugging the headpiece.
My iTunes.
Your video is fine. It's just the sound.
Let's see here. It's my, that is uncomfortable, but it is my iTunes that are popping in and out. Let's see if we can make it. No, it's not.
Maybe unplug your earplugs.
Maybe that works. Can you hear me? Yeah, great. Okay, everybody, let's see if I can get some peace away from this iTunes. It suddenly just started popping up, so I'm sorry about that. Well, and I have to retract my traces now and come back to some clarity about what I was going to talk about. And I'm presenting in this particular segment for aspects, I'm presenting something called planetary pairs. And planetary pairs are just any aspect that makes any kind of aspect between two planets, even if it's not a regular aspect, it's just a relationship they have together and in where they are in the cycle together. And as Maurice said, synthesis is extremely important in order to understand how to interpret a chart. When we interpret a chart, we try to see the full picture. And once we get into planetary pairs, where we are looking at this specific relationship between two bodies, we are trying to get the song of the chart. We're trying to get the harmony of the chart. We're trying to get the energy of each individual chart. And that's one of the things that makes astrology so difficult in a way, is that we are unique as individuals. There are no two completely alike Aries people or no two Scorpio people who are just the same. And that's where most students of astrology sometimes, you know, they struggle a little bit, and we tend to over complicate things. Now, once we get into the depth of understanding transits and aspects in particular, we get to sort of reflect over the complexity of each human being. We might not understand everything from a mental level, because I think that's practically impossible, but we get to reflect on it. We get immersed with the chart. We get immersed with that particular chart. And then on an intuitive level, we suddenly start to get an image, we get information, we start downloading the right type of information about that particular person. And then it becomes an art. And this is why it's so difficult. We learn a lot of theory, but then we move into the art of understanding. And that's a very deep and interesting study. So it's with great pleasure that I am to present these planetary pairs. Pythagoras described the sun and the moon and the planets as they were emitting a sound. And I don't know if you've ever been to YouTube and you've seen these videos about the different planets, but they have this sound that they bring out. There's a frequency we're talking about. There's an energy. And once two planets start talking together, they start singing. They start making a sound, a synthesis. And this is what we want to see. What's the energy of this particular person? Is it high vibration, low vibration? What type of vibration are we talking about? And I like this music of the spheres. There's a lot of people who've been describing that after Pythagoras as well. And I think it's one of the things that, you know, once we start getting into chart interpretation, it's important to remind ourselves about, because astrology can be pretty technical, and this, you know, like this module is pretty technical, but at the same time, once you get to the deeper studies of it, once you have reflected enough upon it, it becomes an intuitive art. And you can integrate it, which is the key word for these 6 months. As Kaypacha mentioned, it's now up until October-ish that Saturn will be on the south node of the moon. And for me, I've been reflecting a little bit on this as I came, I was driving today, and I was thinking about growing up, because Saturn is all about growing up. And if you want to master something, like right now I'm trying to learn the guitar. You know, I always postponed it. I didn't want to learn the guitar. I love singing, but I sort of didn't want to do my homework and do the actual practicing the guitar. And after a while, after I mastered certain levels, now I know some new chords, etc., I get more freedom. And that is Saturn. It is learning the basics. With this aspect course, definitely you have to learn something that can be challenging on the mental level. You have to use your mind. But once you master that level, that first level, you get more freedom, and then it becomes fun. But it's usually never fun until you have that feeling of mastery. If there's something with Saturn, and especially because Saturn, it's in its own house and in its home, in its own sign, in Capricorn, you will in particular be confronted with the need to prioritize, with the need to do the homework, with the need to show up and do your duty, not just your duty as a human being, but also in relationship to your dreams. Now, I thought it was very interesting what Ari Moshe said about the Jupiter and Neptune square, because here we have a very interesting dichotomy going on. On one hand, we have Saturn in Capricorn, which is very hardcore. Wake up, smell the coffee. It's time to grow up. You're standing at the brink of a new you, a person that you can really be proud of, somebody you can say, hey, I did that and I created it and I showed up and I did my homework. And at the same time, we're also facing a multitude of dreams, a multitude of ideas and inspirations that we want to follow. But at the same time, Saturn is saying, you only have so and so much time. You can't do it all. You have to prioritize. It's time to pick what dreams are sustainable. What do you really think is realistic? Saturn is this big thing. He should wear a t-shirt that says, keep it real, you know? Just keep it real, because that's going to keep it functional. And there's a consequence to everything we do and say in this world, whether or not we like it. So this consequence, you tapped into, Kaypacha, you called it karma. And it's karma is a result of our habits. And this period, I'm a very optimistic person. This period is excellent for dealing with some of these habits that's been disturbing your progress so far. Just eliminate anything that doesn't give you those results you're looking for. Growing up means prioritizing on every level, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We can be very good at prioritizing our time in a way, but emotionally, we might not be so good at making priorities. Is this something you should delve into, or should you just put it aside, if you can, of course? But maybe now there's this momentum to, you know, pull yourself out of things and don't delve into things you know is not giving you the productive results you're looking for. It's taking energy away from you. It's just bleeding energy all the time because you have some tendency that you want to control something and you have to let go, etc. Sometimes we just got to pull ourselves out of it. And at the same time as well, you know, it has to do with mental discipline, right? We can't just sit there and let the mental body be without discipline. Then it will go in every direction. You will just waste a lot of time thinking unproductive thoughts. So there's this beautiful momentum. I mean, Saturn is really a liberator if we think about it. I know it has a bad rep because it's, you know, it's making you aware of that there's, you know, there's consequences to your actions. And it also has this self-awareness that can be hard to deal with, like, oh my God, did I do that? Did I just repeat one of my past mistakes? So you can be really harsh with yourself. And that's when we have to go to that Cancer polarity point and say, come on, you did your best, you know, make a mistake, turn the other cheek, be nice to yourself. Okay, eventually you will learn. You might have had to go through this one more time, but it's okay, you know. You have to be gentle when we talk about a strong Saturn, because we all make mistakes, but we gotta pick ourselves up again after that. You know, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's the general rule for all humans. And in that sense, you know, there is no competition in, you know, getting more enlightened or being more, you know, better at things. You just show up and you do what's within your potential, within your capacity. That's all Saturn asks. Just do your best, and that's all we ask, you know? So I think that's a good thing to remind yourself. If you are one of our students and you're in the middle of this class and you're really struggling and you are going into some bad energy in your head where you're like, oh, I got to do my homework, and oh, I'm not good at this and everything, you know, we got to try even if we're not ready. You know, with Saturn, I always tend to say, with Saturn in Capricorn, I always tend to say, you have to go to some class, make a fool out of yourself, see for yourself. It's not the worst thing in the world to be a little new at things. You know, I know it's painful. It's much more comforting to master things, but you know, in order to get there, you have to be able to make a fool out of yourself. Now, there's a planetary pair I could share with you. I've been delving into some of the inner planets facing the transpersonal planets, because the transpersonal planets is that point in our charts where we meet these bigger forces in life, where we meet our spiritual needs to evolve, to speak, sort of. And for instance, you know, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately, in particular, maybe because I'm Aquarius and I'm surrounded by these Aquarian people always, you know, I've been thinking a lot about the Sun-Uranus planetary pair. And I think a lot of people who are into astrology, they are very much under the influence of Uranus, because Uranus is this higher consciousness kind of planet. But the thing is, with these different aspects, and as we've seen a little bit from Ari, what he spoke about, and Timothy and Christina, you know, it's kind of like an evolution between two planetary bodies. So when we talk about Sun Uranus, we're talking about the principle of liberation, I would say, the liberation of that creative self. You know, the sun is the core of you, who you identify with, your purpose. When you are with your sun expression, you feel like this makes sense. You know, this gives great meaning. This gives great meaning. Having this experience makes my life meaningful. This makes sense, you know. And then when Uranus hits that particular point, the sun, in either aspect, it could be a waxing square, which is in the beginning, or it could be an opposition, or a waning square, which is the end. The full cycle describes that need to liberate that particular unique sense of self, that gift that lies inside the heart of you. You know, we have to share that gift. And there's a critical situation going on with Sun Uranus, because you can't copy anybody else. You have to do it your way, with your style and your individual expression. So it's really something that pulls somebody out of the comfort zone. It sort of brings, in the beginning of this particular planetary pair and its phases, this feeling of being an outsider, this feeling of being a rebel, you know, a rebel, and sometimes a rebel without a cause. But after a while, you become a rebel with a cause, and you stop rebelling society, and you manage to integrate that beautiful gift that is your dream to integrate on earth with grace and purpose and love for humanity as a whole. Now, getting there is a process, you know, and it's something we have to, as Saturn would say, we would just have to practice, and practice makes master. So yeah, despite a little Neptunian mercurial glitch there, I managed to convey my message, and I'm so looking forward to this particular segment. I'm really enjoyed it so far working. So yeah, it's been awesome, huh? And now I think it's Jules, right? Yeah,
it's my turn.
hello, London.
Hello, how are you all? Good to be here with all of you. As Sol just describing Sun Uranus, I've been in London since Wednesday. The next morning I arrived, Julian Assange was arrested, and he has a Sun Uranus square from Cancer to Libra, and opposite his Uranus is Chiron and Eris. And so he has a T-square, very prominent about being the rebel and doing it his own way, and of course paying the causes for being a rebel. I haven't got time to get into his chart today, but my part of this wonderful course that we're doing is actually to teach about planetary patterns, and I'm going to share my screen here. And planetary patterns are very much about, let me just annotate, oh hang on, oops. Sorry, it's going, I want to get my pointer, and why can't I? Shit. Oops. My pointer's not working, so you're going to just have to follow my lead here. This is the chart for today. It's at 9 o'clock tonight, and we're a little bit later than that. But what my role in this course is as well, in this module 3, is to teach about planetary patterns. And patterns actually bring in the chart together, the themes of the chart that are working together or in the most challenging sort of parts of each other, and very important to understand what planets are involved in those patterns and how they operate together. And as you can see today, this is for 9 p.m. in London, we've got a grand trine in fire. The moon's in Leo with Jupiter and the sun and Eris, creating a grand fire trine. We have a T-square between Eris, the sun, and the nodes, and Saturn and Pluto, as Kaypacha has talked about Saturn and Pluto and the South Node, and how very important that is to what's going on in the scheme of things and the state of the world. But we are the individuals, the suns, the individuals that are making a difference. And Eris is the planet, as we know, the one that's, in a sense, unhappy with the system and has to speak out. And how significant that is for what's going on in our individual roles to change, you know, what's going on the planet. There's another thing going on, and that's the yod in between, which I'm going to get to in a second. But first of all, let's look at one of the planetary patterns that we start with when we teach astrology, and that's a stellium. And we can see a stellium of 3 planets in Pisces. A stellium consists of, it has to be more than 3 planets, and usually in one sign. But that, you know, when you get to know more astrology, you can sort of play with a bit more. But of course, remember that what we're teaching here is the first year of astrology, in a sense. So we've got a stellium between Neptune, Venus, and Mercury. It's super creative, it's super inspiring, and Venus and Mercury have just begun new cycles with Neptune. So Neptune, Venus, and Mercury in Pisces, it's already a sort of, it's the balsamic sign of the zodiac. So what it's teaching us here as well is that new beginnings are happening from deep inspirational sort of wells of you know, welling up, inspiration coming through, and significant as one of the aspect patterns that are going on at the moment. If we take out, often when we work with aspect patterns, we take out the things that aren't, let's say we take out angle points, perhaps the nodes. I've taken the nodes out here just so we can see more clearly what's going on. And we might take out points like Black Moon Lilith, because if they're part of a major aspect pattern, we want to understand them more. Okay, before we start just putting everything in. Okay, so you've got to start more simplified. So what we can see here is that there is a yod in the middle here. A yod, there's many versions of a yod. It depends what angles are being sort of targeted. But here we can see the main aspect of a yod being 150 degrees, the 2 points pointing to the moon from Pluto and Venus. And this is a strong energy pointing to the moon. This is just today really, but again, an example of how we use this if this was in a natal chart, for instance. And the yod is, of course, a very creative pull through something that might not at the beginning feel very relatable, because we're looking at an energy of earth with the moon in fire and of water with fire. So the sextile at the bottom of the yod, the earth and the water work together to build something, but it's like, how does the creativity challenge and push us out into that direction? So as the astrology of now, and as we're speaking about this is, you know, this is important to have a look at, but I'm going to show you a few more things. Oh, this one's a repeat of that. If we take away what we just had before, okay, taking away the yod and taking away the trine, again, remembering that the trine is a very, it's fire energy. It's all in fire. Jupiter, Eris, and the sun and the moon. The moon is growing. The moon is growing to the full moon for next week. And so there's high inspiration about what's going on at the moment. Now, this is a pattern that's not very often used, but if I take off you know, the rest of what's going in the chart, I can see that there's something going on, and it's called the anvil. It's not a major pattern that we'll be working with in this segment, but it's what I will be teaching you is how to work with different aspect patterns, because if they're prominent in an astrology chart, you want to actually see it and decipher it. So an anvil is actually a trine, a sextile, and two squares. And in this, and again, thinking about the week that we've had the image of the black hole, the first image of a black hole given to us, Julian Assange arrested, and the Game of Thrones airing tonight for the last season. You know, whichever way you look at it, it's a big week. Anyway, so have a look at this anvil and what it represents. I've written it down because, again, I'm not so used to using it, but it's about forging and manifesting. Okay, sextiles and trines with squares. So when challenges turn into positives, we want to forge the positive out of all of this that's going on. Okay, and be inspired about. So it's being the blacksmith, forging what's going on at the base of all this other pattern that is going on. Now I'm going to add the trine on top of that, and this is called the actual aspect of the fish. Now the fish adds that intensity of the inspiration that is leading us, and it's led by the moon, the creative moon in Leo. Now what does that mean for all of us? Again, creativity rules. The more unique and individual that we can be in what we're doing in our lives is the core of how we can get out of difficult situations, or just the way that we're being led in this world. Creativity is going to help solve the problems of 5G, for instance, coming to sort of come down on us, and all the stuff that's going on that we're quite scared about. It's creativity that is going to help us along. Creativity and technology. And look, of course, all of us have heard about the black hole image. Some people are calling it a discovery. It's a discovery of an image coming together. It's not a discovery. The black hole has been known to be there since 1781. I'll get into that in a minute. But of course, it was the first image released during this week by the Event Horizon Telescope, showing us the black hole image. That was an assembling of data, an amazing sort of feat of collaboration from many telescopes around the world to actually give us the first image of this black hole. Now, this black hole has now been given a name called Pauihai. Kaypacha, you might know more how to say that because you lived in Hawaii, and I haven't heard that said yet, but it is an image of the galaxy called M87, and I've been riding a bus called 87 all around London because that's where I am at the moment, so it's pretty cool. It's in the Virgo constellation, known as the Virgo cluster of galaxies. Virgo constellation has many galaxies in it, and of course it's known as a black hole, and it was discovered by a French astronomer, Charles Messier, who named many of the galaxies in 1781. Now, does that resonate to any of you? Uranus was discovered in 1781 as well. So now if we project this M87 down onto the ecliptic, as we do with fixed stars, it's actually at 2 degrees 20 of Leo. So, you know, a powerful point that's kind of, you know, we're much more aware of. Now, I don't know how to say it. Pauihai means the adorned, fathomless dark creation, or embellished dark source of unending creation that comes from a Hawaiian creation chant of the 18th century. How beautiful is that for something that represents creation, actually, of the universe? And it's often been called, there's M87 there, where the little red flower is that I have there, in the Virgo cluster of galaxies. And when projected onto the ecliptic, it's 2 degrees 20 Leo. Now let's have a look at the symbol, the Sabian symbol for 220 of Leo. As I was saying before, the black hole has often been called like a cosmic womb because it is a force of such incredible creation. And it squares 2 degrees of Leo, squares 2 degrees of Uranus at this time. Not that we use galaxies as aspects, but it's just significant for now. But the Sabian symbol, 3 degrees of Leo, a middle-aged woman, her long hair flowing over her shoulders and in a braless, youthful garment, actually sounds quite rebellious. Or, you know, like, be yourself, do the best you can by being the authentic self. And then another version from Linda Hill, a mature woman keeping up with the times, having her hair bobbed. So that this symbol really speaks about, you know, being authentic and being, you know, a bit of a radical, and a quite radical to the changing times. So don't be scared. And this is the chart for the black hole image, 9:08 a.m. in Washington, D.C. when it was announced. And there's a little red flower there at 2 degrees Leo I have there. And in aspect patterns, we can see quite what we call butterfly wings or angel wings that are actually being formed in this pattern between the planets, kind of, you know, bringing in, you know, so much new information. Actually, angel wings, when we look at the meaning of them, they actually represent having an open mind and earning your wings, so to speak, so that we can fly higher and being able to have a bigger and a higher perspective of what's going on. So it's very, very interesting times that we are in. And I know we are on a time clock here, so I'm going to finish up. There's a lot more to say about this, but if you want to join this course and learn more about how to read these aspects, how to put aspects together, how to, let's say, take the theme of a chart that you can do through planetary patterns, then you need to log on and join this amazing team on this fabulous quest. So anyway, and this is the chart of the Game of Thrones starting tonight at 9 p.m. So don't anyone leave right now, because we're not finished. And the story of the season 8 is in that chart. But anyway, I can't tell you anymore. See you later.
Better way to keep them guessing, Jules. Astrology has all the answers, even the Game of Thrones. Great, man. Oh my goodness. Well, that is, I have to say, it is just such an honor, you know, to be working with a group of astrologers and of such high caliber and beautiful, inspiring people. That I think that is really what makes this course different from a lot of other courses. There's a, you know, that each one of us has our own personality, our own history, our own take on things, and it's just, you know, it's when it all comes together, it gives this kind of rich fullness, yeah, that you know, that can be missed with just one perspective from one individual, and this is the way it is. Way more Aquarian, way more Uranian. I love it. So to wrap that whole module up of module 3, all about these planetary relationships and pairs and patterns and everything, I'm gonna, you know, do the last lesson, the last week, where we're going to apply and practice and bring it all together. And I'm going to be using the charts of Gandhi and Rudolf Steiner. So we will be looking at the planetary pairs, all of the aspects, all of the patterns, and begin, okay, to, you know, get just kind of, you know, practice understanding the semi-square and the sesquiquadrate and the, you know, all of the different aspects that we have and that you've been taught through this module, and be able to apply them to, you know, some, you know, real, well, they're not live people anymore, but, you know, to, you know, biographical, historical figures that hopefully you're familiar with. If you're not, you have a little bit of time to read up on them. Yeah, so what I would like to do here, let me share my screen. a little bit and wrap this baby up. Where are we? It is, oh goodness. Oh, I think I'll just, someone asked me where the thing was. So here we have our 7 illustrious teachers. Okay, and this module is going to begin May 4th, and it's going to go to June 29th. So what we do have available is Module 1 and Module 2 are online packages. Okay, that you can access. All of the videos are recorded, the forum conversations. When you get into this course, you will be part of the Facebook group page, so that you'll be able to talk to. We've got over 150 students, so we're all kind of really working through the material and massaging it and sharing with each other, as well as asking questions on the online forum. Yeah. So in addition, with all of these comes a workbook. I think our last workbook had almost 100 pages. Okay, each one of the teachers, we've got examples, we've got charts, we've got famous people, we've got questions. We want you to do exercises and homework. And it's just like, this is the real thing. This is Jupiter in Sagittarius. We are covering everything. So it's really, it's really a fantastic, opportunity. So in this particular module, okay, like, Ari said, he is going to be giving the introduction and bringing us, all into how to find and locate these things, each of the aspects. Christina's going to bring along the 8 lunar phases, and then both Maurice and Timothy are going to go into individual aspects from the conjunction, semi-sextile, semi-square, sextile, square, right on up through the sesquiquadrant, the quincunx, each one of them. It's too much for one person to cover. So, they're going to be sharing that, and then we're going to give you a week off to go just, to breathe and just go, oh yeah. And Sol is going to come back, okay, with the planetary pairs, giving, illustrating them in the different charts, what they all mean, and what, it's going to be really something. And of course, you got a little bit of a taste of what Jules is going to be bringing with, and she didn't even mention the harmonics too much, but yeah, it's like really something else. And then a little practice and some interpretation. So yeah, it's a 7, kind of an 8-week course, a couple of months, it's May and June. We want to get you, free for July and August. But, now we're offering, if you want to go for it, like right now here today, we're going to give you a Kundalini Yoga Kriya, a meditation, all about Lilith, okay, for free. Yeah, just for listening to the webinar, signing up today. You just kind of get to save $80 if you want to, register, within the next couple of days. And of course, if you are a New Paradigm Astrology member, you get discounts on all kinds of stuff and weekly videos and all kinds of goodies. So, that's a whole nother ball game. If you want to purchase the complete course, it's 4 separate modules, 7 weeks each, online, everything there. Do it at your own pace, really understand it to become your own astrologer, right? This is module 1 is the fundamentals of evolutionary astrology. And if you do want to go for the whole course, then we're going to give you all kinds of goodies. Jules, okay, who, is the Cosmic Intelligence Agency's going to give you something. Sol is giving you a couple of workshops, right? Timothy is giving you his Lunar Phases workshop, Okay, a beginner's guide, a couple of, there's a book. Okay, Ari's giving you his ebook. Past Life Meditation by Christina. I mean, if you want to go for it all, this is going to be like enough to carry you through the next couple of years, right on through the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction coming up in 2020. All of these opportunities are going to assist you understanding yourself and the world. And if you want to join for the whole course, you're going to save $430 today. So what we'll do is we'll post the link for you to access these courses, sign up for them. And last but not least, that's for sure, mark down this coupon code is Blue Moon. You can head over to our new website, check out all of the goodies in the store, and help yourself to some, lots of good stuff. And just put in that promo code, Blue Moon. It's good from now until that blue moon herself, the morning of the 19th. Yeah. So there we are. That is so much of what we would like to offer you today and share with you today. I don't know if this works, but I'd like, if everybody turns, unmutes, we can all say goodbye together. Thank you for listening, for showing up, for doing the work. Oh yeah. Daniela, can you put that link on there for everybody? Let's see if I still have it. Is this? Yeah. There's the link. If you go to the store, put that out there. And we hope to see you online in our courses, on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are. May the spirit and, of course, the stars are always with you. Namaste. Aloha.
Aloha.
So much love. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.